The Texas Democrats' decision to break a quorum in the Texas legislature and to abandon the Texas state capitol, that inflicts harm on the very Texans who elected them to serve.
Texas lawmakers from the state house are in Washington, D.C. tonight, some 1,500 miles away from that special session in Austin. Thanks for being with us at 10. I'm Todd Unger.
And I'm Naya Gonzalez. Those state lawmakers say they are fighting for Texas voting rights. 25 News reporter Jarrell Baker has more.
Several Texas Democratic leaders are already in Washington, D.C. and plan to stay there until legislation during the special session changes. For the second time, Democratic lawmakers are walking out on the highly controversial voting bill. Today's sudden move coming after a 17-hour discussion on the bill this past weekend.
We try to offer amendments that would make the legislation better. They refuse at every step of the way, and we are not going to be the victims of our own demise.
This time they're taking a trip to Washington, D.C. State Representative Alex Dominguez is already in D.C. and says enough is enough.
This is not the way the Texas House or the Capitol works for the people of Texas.
Some view the move as defending voter rights, especially since Texas already has some of the strictest voting laws in the country.
This is a peaceful, nonviolent way to resist the steamrolling of the Republican Party on the rights of voters, primarily black and brown voters.
But others say it's nothing more than a ploy, doing more harm than good for Central Texans.
I think it'd do harm to their perception by the general public that they are more obstructionist rather than problem solvers.
Local experts say both sides simply don't see eye to eye on the issue.
In the view of Republicans, ensure that there's no voter fraud. In the view of Democrats and probably most election officials, I think they would argue that voting fraud is typically very rare. And so their concern is that this is going to just limit access to voting.
Democratic lawmakers in the Lone Star State are also finding issues with other legislation this special session, including bills on critical race theory. Dominguez says he, along with other election officials, are willing to wait as long as it takes until they find a middle ground.
I packed for 30 days. My intent is not to return this session. They're going to have to really make some great concessions, get rid of their dog whistle bills that are doing nothing more but inflame their base, get them all excited, helping them fundraise for 2022. This is not.
Governor Abbott has the power to arrest lawmakers as long as they're in Texas. He can also ask for another special session where the voting rights bill could be brought up again. It's important to note that Republican lawmakers have made some changes to the bill, but only time will tell if they can reach a common ground. In Bell County, Jarrell Baker, 25 News.
Jarrell, thank you. Texas Speaker Dade Phelan released a statement saying in part, quote, "These actions put at risk state funding that will deny thousands of hardworking staff members and their families a paycheck, health benefits, and retirement investments so that legislatures who broke quorum can flee to Washington, D.C. in private jets." Several state Democrats sounded off on Twitter earlier today. State Rep Diego Bernal tweeted, quote, saying that voting is a sacred right that needs our protection, not be a game with rules that can be rigged to guarantee winners and losers. It's my job and duty to keep that from happening. While State Rep Ray Lopez saying, quote, "We have exhausted the dialogue with Texas Republicans. Their intent is clear: to suppress the vote of Texans. Texas House Democrats are now taking the flight to D.C.
Meanwhile, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick announcing today the state Senate will honor Miss Opal Lee later this month. She, of course, is considered the grandmother of Juneteenth. For years, the 94-year-old Texan led an annual march to D.C. from Fort Worth, North Texas, to help make the day a federal holiday.
It's not a black holiday. That is not a Texas holiday. That it represents freedom.
That soundbite from our story with Opal last month. June 19th marks the day federal troops arrived in Galveston and told slaves there they were free. Some years after the Civil War, Lee will be honored by the state Senate on July 22nd.
Attorney General Ken Paxton will not block users from his personal Twitter account following a lawsuit. The suit says Paxton unconstitutionally blocked users for criticizing him or his policies. Paxton agreed to quit blocking users to end the lawsuit. Now, one of the people hoping to take Paxton's job is former state Supreme Court Justice Eva Guzman. Her campaign announcing today it raised more than $1 million in its first 10 days. Paxton says his campaign raised over $1.8 million in the same time period. Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush is also looking to beat Paxton in a Republican primary. His campaign reported $2.26 million raised during the 10 days. All right, let's get a first check of weather this evening.
Chief Meteorologist Matt Hines here. Matt, depending on where you were today, a pretty wet one.
Yes, it was, especially between Waco, Temple, Killeen. That's where we saw the lion's share of the rain earlier. But tonight, it is quiet across the area. The green you see is just a little bit of ground clutter out there and not actual precipitation. And our rain chances will continue to come down. As we check out high temperatures today across the state, it was in the 90s to our north, the 90s to our south, and right here at home, well, not many 90s. How about 70s and 80s for us? It was 79 in Killeen, 76 in Lampasas, 85 for Waco, and 82 in Temple. So those clouds really helping us out here in the central part of the state, and that is some good news, at least for one day. But we will continue to see those temperatures continue to go up. But right now, we're falling through the 70s, and we're going to be pretty nice in the morning, but the 90s are returning in our 10-day forecast coming up.
All right, Matt, we'll see you in just a minute. Part of I-35 is closed tonight in Belton. Two southbound lanes between Central and Loop 121, to be more exact. Crews are working on bridge joint work. The interstate will reopen at 6 in the morning. It'll also be closed tomorrow night at 7 and then reopen again at 6 Wednesday morning. Ramps to I-14 and Highway 317 are also closed. Last month was a good one for the city of Waco. The city announcing 2 projects will likely get funded by the federal government if bills get through Congress. Waco Mayor Dylan Meek announced almost $8.4 million will go to the Spiegelville Bridge at the Middle Bosque. An additional $1.7 million will go to the Flat Creek Water Project.
The town of McGregor is blasting off, literally, but some aren't really ready for the ride. SPACEX announcing it would break ground on a new rocket engine factory in the small town. But some downtown business owners say the expansion isn't wanted. JoLynn Brown owns an antique shop. She says large booms have shattered windows and even cracked foundations.
There's a lot of people that really don't like it, yeah. They complain, but just because of the noise, you know, and the vibration.
But McGregor Mayor Jim Herring says there are a lot of positives with SPACEX continuing its expansion.
Creates economic activity for the other businesses in town. We've experienced residential construction over the past couple of years, unlike anything that I've seen in my 22 years.
Herring says he believes that most people would prefer SPACEX in the community than not having it in town. He adds SPACEX warns the community before every launch.
Well, you could be one of the first everyday folks to go to space. Virgin Galactic and Omaze are offering a chance to win a seat on one of the company's first commercial voyages to space.
We've launched something through Omaze, which will enable somebody to win a lottery ticket, and they can then bring a friend. They can come to the spaceport. I will show them around. I will see them off and give them an amazing trip. And the money that comes from that will hopefully enable dozens of people who could never have afforded to go to space to be able to go to space and become astronauts.
Now, one winner and a guest can rocket more than 50 miles above Earth and experience zero gravity for a few minutes. Anyone over the age of 18 can enter at omaze.com through August 31st. Each $10 donation is equivalent to 100 entries. The money supports the nonprofit Space for Humanity, which aims to expand access to space. Virgin Galactic hasn't released details on when the exact flight might take place.
125 people are dead after more than 360 shootings this weekend.
After the break, we find out what is being done to curb all that gun violence.
And Central Texas reopening tonight. We take you inside one place that hasn't been open in over a year.
Hundreds of shootings across the country, killing at least 125 people over the weekend. According to the Gun Violence Archive, more than 360 shootings happened between Friday and Monday mornings. Among them, a 13-year-old teen killed in New York City. A police officer was also killed near Shreveport, responding to a call about a disturbance. One of those deadly shootings happening closer to home here in Waco. Police say a 57-year-old was killed just after 6 Saturday morning in a parking lot on West Waco Drive near a popular store. Anyone with info about the shooting, please contact Crime Stoppers. That number 254-753-4357. Meanwhile, a new study suggests that the rise in gun violence recently is not connected to increased gun sales. The study was done by the Violence Prevention Research Program at the University of California, Davis. Researchers say most people who have bought guns from the start of the pandemic until now were actually already gun owners. So what's the reason behind the recent rise in violence? The study suggests job loss, civil unrest, and closures of community organizations as possible reasons. President Joe Biden says he has a 4-part plan to help curb gun violence. Part 1, hold gun dealers who break the law accountable. Then support law enforcement with funding from the American Rescue Plan. Also, invest in community violence intervention programs. And lastly, fund mental health, substance abuse, and job training programs.
After over a year of strictly remote working and drive-up services, CARITAS of Waco is opening its doors for clients in person again. Andrew Lemparski has more on the story. All right, looks like we're having some technical difficulties. We'll go ahead and head to our teases. Central Texas has had some rain earlier today, but will that continue tonight? We'll find out from Matt.
And we are looking at our rain chances slowly starting to decrease across the area, but we will be seeing those temperatures come up a bit, but no 100s are in the forecast. That's always good news in July. We'll have more coming up. And the rain fell today, especially across the central portions of central Texas, where we did see anywhere between 1 and 2 inches of rain between Temple and Lampasas. 6,800s in Killeen, 2,100s in Waco. Waco, you were right on the edge of the heavier rain. Southern McLennan County seeing a lot more than northern McLennan County up toward the west area. If you're down toward Bruceville, Eddy, Lorena, you saw quite a bit of rain. And then you notice how the individual totals, remember, these are just rain buckets in the middle of a field out there. Well, the rain buckets here near Bremond measuring 4 to 5 inches of rain. That's what those reds and pinks are. So we did see some really heavy downpours in some locations. Again, the oranges and the reds, that's where we saw the heaviest amounts of rain, even back towards San Saba, seeing several inches of rain in a localized area. And that's how these showers and thunderstorms usually work out. Our weather headlines for the rest of this week, well, it's going to stay warm and rain chances are coming down. Looks like they will be low as we make our way into tomorrow and for the rest of the week. Maybe a 20% chance, especially southeast of Waco, Temple, Killeen. High temperatures between 91 and 94 degrees. Normal's 96. So we're still going to be a little bit below normal. That's always nice to say, even though it's going to be plenty hot and humid. Mid-90s are likely as we head toward a hot weekend. First Alert 25 radar, again, quiet for tonight. And as we check out our Extraco Eagle Eye in Killeen, mostly clear skies, 73 degrees. Winds are calm at the moment. They will start to shift more to the south and to the southeast. Is it really July out there? Well, it is. We saw the rain here, all courtesy of a storm system making its way through the Midwest that did send that weak front into our area on the backside. However, as that moves away, our heat dome to the west will slowly start to slide on into Texas, and that's why our rain chances will be coming down over the next couple of days. Future Track will pinpoint that as well. 7 o'clock Tuesday morning. Mostly cloudy skies. Areas that saw the heavier rain may see some patchy fog as well. During the afternoon, partly cloudy skies, and notice there's not much out there to keep us cool. So back to the 90s, and we may see an isolated storm threat across the evening hours southeast of Waco, Temple, Killeen, and I think that's going to be a repeat performance over the next several days. Wednesday looking like more of the same, probably going into Thursday and Friday as well, as we will continue to see summertime kind of take hold again, but not too bad. Temperatures tonight, upper 60s and lower 70s for us. Should be a pretty nice morning for you when you wake up. Then in the afternoon hours, we're looking at lower 90s for most of us, but with the humidity, you can add about 5 degrees to that. Normal high again, 96 degrees, so we aren't looking too bad there. And looking at that 10-day forecast, 92s Tuesday and Wednesday, again, some very slight chances of rain for the rest of the week going into the weekend. Highs in the mid-90s. Could be some more rain chances on the way next week.
All right, Matt, thank you. After over a year of strictly remote and drive-up services, CARITAS of Waco opened its doors again for clients. 25 News reporter Andrew Lamparski was at CARITAS to see firsthand how the day went.
People from 108 families walked through the doors of CARITAS today, the first time people were allowed inside since March 2020. It's been so long that for some employees, today was the first day they were ever interacting with clients face-to-face. The carts were rolling again today at CARITAS, this time with clients inside the building.
We were so anxious to get back to kind of an old normal for us.
Clients were welcomed back inside for the first time in 16 months. Since Marcus D. Great started in September, this was the first time he had the chance to work with clients, at least not through a car window.
It's just a one-on-one contact where we're able to speak with them and really get down to the bottom of their needs.
But things aren't 100% back to the way they used to be just yet. While people can meet inside with case managers and wait in line for the pantry, CARITAS is still only offering preloaded carts of groceries.
Like right here we have a bag of canned goods and we'll load that into the car. They'll have a number, we'll call their number, and we'll walk them outside.
They load the cart full of a variety of different food products into the client's car, and then prepare another cart for the next client.
Whenever they come in, you know exactly why you're doing the job that you're doing.
Co-director Alicia Jala said this day was long awaited for clients, employees, and volunteers.
There's just something different about being able to serve in person, having someone come to our offices and through the line instead of having to talk through that car window.
It's definitely a blessing to have the opportunity to just be a part of CARITAS and, you know, be a leader here. I'm just grateful.
As many clients continue to face hardships as the pandemic slows down, CARITAS encourages those who have the resources to volunteer their time or their money to do so. You never know who might be in need of a little help. CARITAS is open Monday through Friday. They open their doors at 8 a.m. and they take their last client at 3 p.m. You can learn how you can help them serve those in need in the community on our website. In Waco, Andrew Lamparski, 25 News.
Andrew, thank you. Well, today was a busy day for baseball.
Sure was. 25 Sports anchor Jack Allen is here with more.
Yeah, Todd, the MLB draft moved into